So on the day of the fisticuffs, whilst I was in my lobby from 2 up to about 2:45, waiting on leadership, a few of them came, including the minority leader. All efforts to get the majority leader yielded no dividend. And so I later read from our WhatsApp that he said he wanted to start from 5. But from those who came to the lobby, the decision they had agreed upon was to discuss the e-levy. That was the item for Monday, but the House was supposed to have adjourned on Friday. But that was outstanding business. The other members were begging the minority leader that there are other businesses and they begged me to take it on. I said, what you agree is what I will do. When we went to the floor, the deputy minority leader raised a technical procedural issue, and he was on point. The business committee hadn't met, and therefore there was no business before the House. Because the business is presented by the business committee, the standing orders are very clear on it. But we had an order paper before us. So where did that order paper come from? There was no report from the business committee chaired by the majority leader. And there was an order paper produced by who? My first task as a speaker was how to resolve this issue. And I said, yes, you are right. And this was conceded by the majority chief whip that he was right. But we should not adjourn proceedings. I agreed with him and decided that we should adopt the order paper that was before us as a business for the day on Monday. But if we intended going beyond Monday, then the business committee should present the report to the House so that we get to know the business for the next day, Tuesday. This I ruled, and I put the question, and the ayes have it. And then we decided to do the business. When I wanted to go to the business, which is the e-levy for the day, my attention was drawn to Order 53, which says that at any time they could urge the Speaker to vary the order of business for the day. And so I was asked to rather dwell on other businesses than the e-levy motion, which I did. And we handled about 6 other businesses. And I chaired from around that time till after 6 p.m., sitting for over 3 hours, presiding over other businesses, not the motion on the e-levy. And I was tired. And so I decided to hand over. I looked and I saw that my deputies were not on their seats. I sent my usher to look for them. He got only the first deputy speaker who wasn't feeling well. So the first deputy speaker came to me and I handed over to him with the instruction that handle these 2 statements. Seeing your state, I'll come back to take over. And then I now went 6 something to take my lunch. While taking my lunch, I saw the second deputy speaker take over from the first deputy speaker. And so I decided to relax and then see what was going to happen. And that is what I was watching. And I realized the focus was not initially on e-levy. They were discussing other matters again. And when they got to the e-levy, an issue was raised. And what was that issue? There was a sudden surprise of the e-levy thing being urgent business. And so the minority were right in saying that when government wants to inform Parliament that the business they are bringing to the House is urgent, is indicated in the papers that are presented. There was no such indication. And when it is indicated, a committee is set up to go into it to see whether that business is urgent or not urgent. There was nothing like that. So the Finance Committee cannot just come with a report and say that this is urgent business. And that was the initial exchanges, which I thought these are things that leaders should sit and talk and come to an agreement. As a speaker, when you try to rule one way or another, they tag you, they brand you, they categorize you. So most of the time, you hear us calling on the leaders to build consensus, to guide the speaker. I left Parliament after 10 p.m. and I sent my closing remarks for the day, and that's for the session, through my usher to the second deputy speaker, that at the conclusion of the debate, you read this as my closing remarks for the session. And I have a copy I can give to you. And so I'll give you notice, I'll not be available to even read my closing remarks. And I left to my house. Because I was so tired, immediately I put off my dress, I fell on the bed and slept. It was after 12 that my wife woke me up to take my dinner. And then after that, I decided to go through social media. And there I found that the honorable members that are left in the house dishonored themselves by exchanging blows. And when I investigated further, I thought that this was very unnecessary. And that, to be frank with you, my first deputy speaker was wrong in even announcing that he was going to vote, and nobody could stop him from doing that. And so when the second deputy speaker voted, he then called on him to come and take over so that he will also now go and vote. And that is why when he bent down for the second to take over, the minority members rushed to prevent that from happening. That's what led to the fisticuffs. And it meant that we haven't still moved away from this unbridled partisanship to the national interest. I've given a ruling on how deputy speakers should preside over the House, when they could vote and when they could not vote. That guidance I've given to the House and to the country. I think when I was reading it, they were making so much noise that they did not even hear what I said. If they had listened and they've appreciated it and gone to the literature and the experience of other parliaments, that wouldn't have happened. Now, you were told before that the Speaker of Parliament in Ghana is not a member of Parliament. That is true. I'm not a member of Parliament. I'm the Speaker of Parliament. And the Speaker is for everybody. You were told that as a Speaker, I don't take decisions for the House. It's the members who take the decisions. That is right. I only handle practice and procedure and guide the House to take the decisions. Now, what happened on the floor, on decision taking, I'm being said to be the cause of it. So, where are we now? So this blame game will not wash. It will not. It was a low blow to me. And that is one of the lowest points of the Parliament of the Fourth Republic. Since 1993, we've never moved to this stage. We got there now. And therefore, we need to have cool heads, clear minds, the spirit of give and take, compromises, consensus building to surmount this. Well, for the next 3 years, you cannot change the composition of the House. It will continue to be a hung parliament. You can decide to handle what number of by-elections, but I can tell you, it will not change the composition. In the 2000 elections, the differences were that close. The outcome of 2000 elections, I was minority leader. G.H. Mensah was the leader of government business. For the first 6 months, we were able to handle the house. When he left, they handed it over to Papa Osu and Kuma. We were able to handle the house. Even when the late Right Honorable Peter Alajete erred in coming to attack me on the floor, based on a publication in Ghanaian Palava, who thought the source of that information was from me. And so he wrote a damning piece to come and attack me. And when I heard, I was shocked. So I had no knowledge of it. And so I stood up to intervene, and he denied me. Papa and Kuma stood up and told him that it was wrong, because even by our rules, you cannot attack the conduct of a member of parliament on the floor. And that once he's talking about me, it is right for him to give me the opportunity to write. He said no. That was the day I walked out to my office, and the media followed me, and I said I'll go after him. That is the only incident that I recall. Later on, when we met and sat and the explanation came, he realized that he was attacking the wrong person. I hadn't even seen that communication. And that is the only time. Throughout my leadership, from 2001 up to date, I have never interfered into the function of speakers. Not even at the board level. But today, as I said, there is a change. And now I'm prepared to accept this change. I'm prepared to accept the criticism, but I want genuine criticisms. I want to at least be consulted before I'm criticized. And all this period I'm talking about, the time that I was seated there, the majority leader only showed his face and then sent a text to me that was around 4:30 that he was now going to have a bite and to come back to the house. He also whispered to my usher to inform me he was going to have a bite and to come back. And I presided till after 6. When I left, he wasn't on the floor. How can you now lead your team to now be attacking me and saying that I should lead? In fact, one of them said, I should learn how to lead. It's because the level of leadership I'm at, he doesn't understand it. And that is someone who claimed to be my son, the honorable member for Efutu, the deputy majority leader, Honorable Afenyo Market. You come and you personally attack me, then you come to the house and you expect that we should have that spirit of consensus building. Things don't work that way. Whether you like it or not, today, the Right Honorable Alban Bagbin is the Speaker of Parliament. How we have to work together is what we should be focused on to make sure that we push the developmental agenda further. Others will come and continue from where we've taken it to, and then that will be a better place for all of us to live in. And so these are some of the things that I feel sad about. And I'm really very passionate about it. And I think we could do things differently. But sometimes I want to continue to say this. It's not politicians who develop a country. No. If you leave the development of a country to politicians, they will deepen the differences in the country. That is why at the inception of the independence and democracy in the United States of America, the founding father, George Washington, spoke against party politics. He was afraid that the states that have come together will be divided along those party lines and they will not be able to build the union. That is why His Excellency the late Jerry John Rawlings also doubted democracy based on partisan politics. And that's why during his governance, you realize his appointments was such that he was cutting across the political divide, CPP, MPP divide. And at the end of the day, he didn't want to continue, but because of those fears, they decided to establish a third force, which was the National Democratic Congress. But because of the incumbency and the immediate impact he has made in Ghanaians and in development, that party won the elections and continued to grow, and is now the great National Democratic Congress. And so we will need to be able to get non-political leaders to intervene to get this going. And some have been playing very good roles. You can talk about the Conference of Catholic Bishops. You can talk about the Christian Council. You can talk about the chiefs led by our own King, His Majesty Otumfuo Osei-Tutu the First. You know, they are all playing their roles. And you can talk about the Chief Imam, who is highly respected in this country. And then the Ahmadiyya leader, Maulvi Wahab Adam, now taken over by Maulvi bin Saleh. You know, the roles they play are so key that we should be able to formalize them and make them part of the governance structure of the country. Not just allow the institutional structures, like you say, Council of State, and the Council of State are appointed by the President, and you can't difficult for them to say things publicly. They may be able to say them in private with the President, but those are pieces of advice. If the President doesn't take them, what do? They can't come publicly to expose it. And that's why sometimes we perceive them to be weak, and sometimes refer to them as errand boys of the President, because the President sometimes say, go and represent me at this function, which President should not be doing. They should move away from it. But I have engaged all players, and I have met His Excellency President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo a number of times. And I have met all the others I'm talking about and listen to their counsel. But I always don't run away from sharing what I'm sharing with all Ghanaians about my understanding of multi-party democracy has been practiced from country to country, how they manage to build their own, and that will build our own. So from next year, apart from the focus on corruption, you will see me not only speaking, but acting to change even the dress code and the code of conduct of members of parliament.